All right, what up, people? It's your boy Chig for Greener Eagle Eye, coming to you again with a brand new video. This time, you are through to Chig Knows Best. That's right, not Late Night with Chig. Chig Knows Best, where I talk to you about 5 options, 5 coaches who I'd replace Unai Emery with today. So the reason I decided to do this, for anyone who doesn't know, I've had a lot of new subscribers since the summer. I did a Chig Knows Best video series over the summer where I was talking about various different options for striker, for left wing, for right wing, for left back, for defense. And it was a popular video series. So I figured, you know what? Why don't I just do that with the coaches? So I'm going to do that with the coaches. I know there's been lots and lots of rumors today that have been covered from supposedly we've not trained over the last few days. No one's quite sure if we train today. Pretty unusual stuff given that we've got a game on Thursday. So everyone's wondering what's going on. Lots of rumors that Stan may have flown in, although I think that one's BS because why would Stan fly in just for this? He would leave it to Raul or he'll leave it to Josh, if anything, to do. Lots of rumors that the staff are expecting something significant to happen, aka a sacking. They're expecting a sacking. You know, you've even got supposedly the Oracle, David Ornstein, talking about the fact that it's a case of when, not if. Quite a shift from the bars he was spitting last week, which just goes to show you that David Ornstein is straight up out of the loop of things that go on at Arsenal. So I think what is clear is that the situation is very different to what we understood it to be perhaps this time last week. In my opinion, in a positive way. My only concern is that nothing seems to be happening at the moment. You know, you saw a story today from the Scum paper talking about how it will cost 4 million to get rid of Unai Emery. And in my mind, I'm like, so? Chop, chop. Spurs paid 3 times that to get rid of their most successful manager. So don't tell me that 4 million is the holdup. Just pay him the 4 million and let's get a move on. So, yeah, I think lots of people, and Joanne, I hear you, girl. I think it's very possible, very, very possible that he could be sacked tomorrow. It could be sacked whenever. For me, I figured I'd argued with so many people over the last few days about who shouldn't be manager. Maybe I should talk about who I actually think should be manager. Vladimir, you read my mind. I'll tell you what, though. The irony, I bet he's a good coach. If he decided to go that way, I bet he ends up being a good coach. Anyway, for me, these are my 5 choices. Now, let me really explain this. These are my 5 choices of who I'd replace Unai Emery with. Sorry, I'm trying to suppress a burp. That's why I'm bleeding this way. Who I'd replace Unai Emery with this week. I can't stress those 2 words enough. This week, right? Number 5, Diego Simeone, the Atletico Madrid manager. Now, that might surprise people. Let me explain. He is my dream choice to replace Unai Emery, but I'm also realistic. If I'm talking about this week, Diego Simeone ain't leaving a Champions League club this week. It's not happening. And quite frankly, as much as I want him, I ain't prepared to stick around with Unai Emery any longer than we need to just because I want to secure Diego Simeone. So for me, I would love to have him. I think he exhibits all of the qualities that I want in a coach. You know, and I know for some people, he is seen as the worst choice given because of his style of football. Because apparently style of football is all that matters to Arsenal fans. For me, and I've always said this, and I've said this from the very get-go, the best style of football is winning. I don't care how we get there. Winning is the best style of football. And as you heard me and Bang talk about over the weekend, to me, when you're winning, we used to be a team who always used to win 1-0 to the Arsenal. The only reason this changed was because Arsene Wenger. And listen, don't get me wrong, I like to watch entertaining football if possible, but I've always maintained I don't really give two craps. Try not to swear in this video. I don't really give two craps whether or not we win by playing entertaining football or win by playing boring football. The most effective football is winning. And the one thing you will say about Diego Simeone is he is effective. And he will teach these lot how to defend. He will teach these lot how to work hard. And anyone that's not on board, it'll ship him out. How many of you have said in the chat room over the last week, 2 weeks, weekend, every time we do a watch along on Leeds channel, we need to just change this whole club from top to bottom and ship out everyone that is not on board with the program. But this is the guy to do that for me. You know, for me, I think it's not unrealistic. And again, this is one thing you heard me saying to Bang over the weekend, because he was like, he went to me, you know what, obviously the dream choice would be Diego Simeone. And I just sat there and I thought to myself, so why can't we get Diego Simeone again? Just before you start laughing, why can't we get Diego Simeone? Why can't we act like this big club that we think we are and go to Atletico Madrid and say, listen, before I start talking to Diego Simeone, what do you want as compensation? Act like flex. Go in there and flex. And say, listen, we want your manager. What will it take? How much will it take? Because if we can agree a compensation deal now, let's do that so we can go and talk to the manager. I don't understand this, because at some point, it occurred to me last week. Like, I always talk about Diego Simeone as being this dream choice, and it occurred to me, hold on, it's not like this guy is at Real Madrid or Barcelona. Is it so beyond the realm of possibility that we could get him that I've just accepted that will never happen? And I thought, no, let's just go and get him. And, you know, and Lee was like, yeah, why don't we just go get him? So, to me, I just think it's the obvious choice. It's the person that I would love to just shake the foundations of his club and just almost like a tree branch and just drop all the loose animals that can't stay in that tree. You know, anyone that ain't good enough. Oh, Granit Xhaka, you think you're bad? And just have someone like a Diego Simeone, who you just know is the type to square up to a Granit Xhaka if he starts taking the mick. You know what I'm saying? Just anyone that ain't on board. And he's a big manager. You think people won't want to play for him? That's a big man. The one thing I would say for Spurs picking Jose Mourinho is that people want to play for Jose. My gosh, these lot were 2-0 down before, and I was all set to start shouting off to Lee saying, gosh, damn, I at least gave Jose 18 months before he started messing up, and these lot are about to lose to Olympiacos. An hour later, I just shut my mouth real quick. He's not that old either. He's 49 years old. A winner in his own right. Yes, not as much as perhaps his talent should have allowed him to, but look at who he's in the league with. You know? Used to working on a reasonably tight budget. To me, I think he is the option that makes the most sense in a lot of ways. He's got the pedigree. He's a winner. My only reservation with him is twofold. And this is the reason he occupies number 5. One, can he speak English? I legitimately don't know. I would assume so. I would assume it is limited, but maybe that's just English arrogance coming from my end. I was born in this country, so it's, you know, we just have this kind of arrogance that everyone can speak English, you know. But maybe he can't. And that might be an issue. You know, and we've just had that for the last 18 months. I don't necessarily want that again. By the way, big up for your donation. I'll read it now before it disappears. Alex Gomez, your content and dialogue cheers me up. Thank you, my bro. Thank you, Mr. Gomez. I appreciate the love, brother. Thank you. Let me stick that on. Thank you, man. Thank you, brother. So yeah, for me, that's my only concern, the English part. And then the reason that he's number 5 is ultimately he ain't going to lead now. So that's the only reason. But I'd love Arsenal to say, Rago, let's ask Atletico and ask the question. That for me is how you act like a big club. Flexing, doing the things that that you need in order to get the job done. So that for me, that is why Diego Simeone is number 5. Sorry. I tried to suppress that burp as long as possible. Let's try again. Number 4 is a new entry. And I ain't going to lie to you, I spent a long time trying to sell this one in my head. But actually, I like him. And that's Nuno from Wolves. Yep. I'd have him. I would have him. I'd have him because for me, I think he is doing an absolutely amazing job at Wolves. And this is someone who dragged Wolves, not just as a low league Premier League team, he dragged them from the Championship into the Europa League. They are currently 5th. I mean, he is working small miracles with that team. And to me, what I like about him is probably different from what other people like about him. Other than his beard. His beard is awesome. His beard is awesome. Actually, I like his demeanor. I like the way he carries himself. I know this is, you're probably going to sat there thinking, what, Chig? I like the way he carries himself. I like his calmness. He has almost this eerie calm to him that, like, you could tell if he gets vexed, he'll get vexed. But he has this kind of eerie, kind of calm and demeanor to him, which I quite like. You can see this guy is very studious, knows his players inside out, has them well drilled. They work. Anyone who watches Wolves, you can see these guys run and work hard. I see people in the chat room talking about formation maybe an issue, and I could see that. I could definitely see something like that play out and why that might be an issue, and I totally get that. But for me, I like him. I like how he's improved players. You know, I think he's improved a lot of his players in his team, and actually his team looks formidable. They legitimately look formidable to me. Thank you, Rabadam. Appreciate the donation, bro. Thank you. They look formidable to me. No one looks forward to playing Wolves at home or away. And I think that is a testament to the way he's transformed that club. Another manager who's come into the club and transformed it. This is also a man that knows the league. All right, he's been in the league for 2 years, but he knows the league. He's a relatively young manager-ish. I think he's early 50s. Someone help me out. How old is Nuno? Is he early 50s? Gosh, now you're actually making me look at. You notice I didn't say his full name because I know I'll butcher that middle name. I'll get used to it if he becomes our man. Yeah, he is young. 45. He is young. So he's 45. Someone who I think would be very enthusiastic. Is he an exciting name? No. But the point I was making yesterday is, does he need to be exciting? Do we need to have a manager that's exciting? I just want a manager to sort the thing out. I don't really give a damn if he's exciting or not. So what I like about Nuno is, for me, I like an unknown element about him, but I also like the fact that I think he'd be a fresh pair of eyes on what I think, on paper at least, is a very talented team. And maybe someone who can motivate this team properly could maybe get that extra 30%. Now, without even reading the chat room, I bet someone has said this. Yeah, but because he's not a big name, can he motivate big players? And that is a big challenge. That is something that if he came into the team, he would have to command the respect of, let's face it, our captain, who probably thinks his shit don't stink at the moment, given the fact that he knows he's an important player for the team. He also knows that he's in the last year of his contract. So, and he's a big character on an ordinary day. He will have to get that under control. He'll have to sort out the Mesut Ozil situation one way or another. I know you know what my preference would be, but let's just call a spade here. If Ozil is for the cause, he has to get his Ozil on side. My personal preference is he ships Ozil out of here, but I don't think that will happen very easily. So he's going to have to command the respect quickly of Mesut Ozil. He's going to have to get certain people on side. Guys, you guys are awesome. You're killing it tonight with the donations. Thank you. Thank you. I promise I'll come back to them and give them the proper respect they deserve. But thank you, Rabadan. I appreciate it. Napoli is in turmoil. It's all about the Ancelotti. Oh, you may hear his name. You may not hear his name. I'll come back to him there. And Nuno will be exciting if he brings Jota and Neves. I have heard this before. So those are the challenges that he does face. I think it's very possible that, particularly because I don't know how much of a future realistically Granit Xhaka has, maybe Neves could be targeted, but I don't necessarily think because Nuno comes on board, then he's bringing players with him. But I'm also sure that if he comes to a club like Arsenal, you are kidding yourself if you think at least a couple of them won't want to join Arsenal, you know? Particularly because I think Neves, let me not speak too soon because people correct me. Is Neves Portuguese, right? I know Moutinho is, but Moutinho is like 32. But is Neves Portuguese? If he is, I'm sure he'll want to come on board. I'm sure he'll want to, play for Nuno again. And to me, I think someone like Neves on the team, oh my goodness, that'll be a serious team. It'll be something that I would love to have on board anyway. So anyway, for me, that is why Nuno is number 4 on my list. Number 3, Allegri. Allegri is number 3. Arguably the biggest name out of everybody. Someone who I have flirted with in the idea of, in the sense that, 18 months ago, I bought into the idea, or I was keen on him coming on board. Over the last 18 months, I've been less keen on coming on board, in the sense that, maybe he is just a guy who is, winning a one-man league or a one-team league and has done very well off it. He's got to a Champions League final, but then again, so is Poch. And you guys know my feelings on Poch. I think he is someone who would relish a challenge. He is someone who said that he wants to manage in England for a long, long time. Someone who has spent damn near 2, maybe 3 years learning English. Someone who has that pedigree, has that name. The players will want to play for him. I think more importantly than anything, I think he is someone who, I believe at least, could potentially transform that team. I do think he'll need help, and I mean help. And I think maybe that might, in the end, be the thing that puts off the owners. Remember, Allegri was interviewed for the job in the first place, and they opted for Emery. So that in itself makes you think, what put them off that idea? But he's someone who knows the culture of England. He has a house in England. He is someone who can adapt to the league theoretically. But then if he's not as good as we think he is, it's going to cost a lot of money. Not only to employ, but let's be real here. HR, I have to look at the full picture. It costs a lot of money to get rid of if it don't work. I'm just putting it out there. Looking at the Emery situation, you actually have to look that far. Like, if it does not work, that is an expensive contract to get rid of. They're dragging their feet over 4 million. Imagine 4 times that for potentially Allegri. So that's my worry. That's my concern there. But to me, all in all, would Allegri do a good job in this team? I think so. I think he'll do a good job. I think he'll command the respect of the players. Actually, I think the players will want to play for him. They'll want to stay. Someone like, I think, Lacazette and Uber might look at that situation and think, okay, I see you, Arsenal. I see what you're doing. Cool, I'll sign that contract. And that's the sort of encouragement that a big name manager brings. Someone that you can see what the club are doing. Sometimes when you bring a big name in, like look at Spurs, right? Spurs is an excellent example here. Let's just say Real Madrid don't come in for Eriksen because he ain't had the best season. So let's say they don't come in for Eriksen. Eriksen might be looking at Spurs thinking, you know what? I see the moves you're making here. I'm going to sign that contract. Toby might think that. Sign that contract. Because that's the sort of things that players take into consideration. If you're Aubameyang, no matter how comfortable you are at a club, it's just like anyone at a job. It's like anyone at a job. I remember I've had a job before where I loved everybody I worked with. My manager, my peers, I loved everybody I worked with. But ultimately, and this is just me being real, the money was crap. So I left. And I left and I went into a horrible job where after day one, I knew this was the wrong move for me. I knew it deep down. But I just thought to myself, you know what, the money's good, so let me stay and let me just get on my grind, you know. Let me not just give up after a day. I moved for a reason, you know? And that might be where Aubameyang is at the moment. He might just be thinking, listen, I love the people I work with. I'm the captain now. No Captain Philip jokes, but I'm the captain now. So he might be thinking to himself, you know what? Cool. I'll just see how this plays out. But I'm going to be flirting with other clubs in the background. And that's where you bring in a big manager name like an Allegri. Someone like that might motivate a player like Aubameyang. Now, there'll be other people that will be watching this thinking, yeah, but why do we have to motivate him? If he doesn't want to play for the club, then tell him to piss off. And I understand that theory, but we also have to be realistic. Realistically, no matter how much we want to say it to all of them, you can't just tell everybody to piss off. And you can't tell the one person that is scoring goals in that team to piss off. Now, and this is coming from me, I'm not necessarily against selling him. But I'm just saying, let's just be realistic. A new manager coming on board, you have to have some of these people on side. And a big name manager can do that. So for me, an Allegri, third choice, you see my logic. You see where I'm going. This is where I'm going to start to lose you. Option number 2, Rafa Benitez. Yeah, damn right. I said it. Rafa Benitez, come at me. I done told you guys once before. To me, he ticks every box. Every box arguably other than the Premier League title. Because that's the only thing he's never won, weirdly. This is a man who's won the Champions League, the Europa League, the Club Winners' Cup, and what was the other one? The Super Cup. The only manager to have won all 4 of these. This is a man who knows the league. A man who would be itching to prove himself and come back and prove himself in that league. Someone who can speak English, albeit with the Spanish accent. I know people are suddenly weird about Spanish accents, but he can speak clear English. Someone who will be able to sort out that defense. Somebody who will get on with Raul, because I think that's important. And I also think he will be able to do that given that they're both Spanish. Raul is trying to stick up for Emery because he's Spanish. You think he's not going to get on with Rafa Benitez for the same reason? He'll have that Spanish connection. Someone who, let's face it, is used to working under tight budgets. Let's just be real here. And our squad, for all of its problems, is more talented than last year's Newcastle team. So he's someone that works well with youngsters as well. The youngsters he brought through at Newcastle during his time there is another person that can do that. And I think this is one person that you can go to, is it that Chinese team? He won't feel two ways about leaving that team. You can go to him now and he'll leave that. For a chance in the Premier League with a big club like Arsenal, he'll leave that team in a heartbeat. I don't care how much money he's on. Match it. Match it. He's on 11 mil. Match it. Match it. You're bringing in someone who's a winner. And I'm not saying give him a big contract in terms of length. Give him a 2-year deal. All we need is someone to teach these forwards how to defend. He'll have them well drilled. He knows the league. He knows his opponents. You have him come in, do a 2-year job, and then find your long-term target. Preferably not Mikel Arteta, at least not until he's proven himself. But go and find your long-term target after that. To me, that's the logical choice. Let's just be real here. Yes, don't get me wrong. Simeone is my dream choice. But the real logical choice is Rafa Benitez. Let's just be honest here. Let's be real here. And I know he's number 2 on my list, but let's just be real here. Quick 2-year job, quick 2-year deal, and then go and find your long-term target. To me, this makes sense. People are talking nonsense about Poch. Rafa Benitez win cups. My man went to Chelsea, where Chelsea were cussing him up. And in the face of Chelsea fans cussing him up, he gave them a Europa League. You can't tell me this guy can't deal with Arsenal fans. You can't. He ticks boxes. Bruv, gets on my nerves when people start talking about Poch when Rafa Benitez is just sitting there. Brother Ryan, thank you, man. I appreciate it again. Appreciate the love. Chig, who is my honorable mention? I'm going to do an honorable mention. It's like you're in my head, bro. It's like you're in my head. I'm going to do an honorable mention list. Hold on, one sec. So, to me, Rafa Benitez absolutely is my number 2. For me, I'd give him the job now. Bear in mind, he's my number 2 in the list. I'd give him the job now. So that begs the question. Hold on, Chip. So you give Rafa the job. Who is your number 1? Like my guy Ryan says, let me do an honorable mention list. And thank you, Rabadan, for your donation, brother. I appreciate it. My honorable mention list. You guys won't like this one, but I'm going to do it anyway. Nagelsmann is number 1 in my. I'm only going to do 3 in my honorable mention list. Nagelsmann is my honorable mention list number 1. To me, he's young, he's up and coming, he's good. The reason he doesn't make my top 5 is because he's only just joined RB Leipzig. Very, very, very unlikely that he's going to be let go of that. Sorry, RB Leipzig. No, I said RB Leipzig, didn't I? I'm an idiot. It's Hoffenheim he's with, right? He's just joined his new club, basically. It's Hoffenheim, I know it is. So he's just joined them, and he's not going to be allowed to go so soon, and that's the only reason that I wouldn't have him now. I think he'll go on to be a very good manager, and that's the only reason that I wouldn't. I've just seen Mick's comment, maybe, and that's the only reason I wouldn't have him now. So he's my honorable mention list number 1. My honorable mention list number 2 is Brendan Rodgers. I would love Brendan Rodgers, and that is quite the turnaround from me from 18 months ago. I would absolutely love Brendan Rodgers. I think he's doing a great job with Leicester. This is someone who, yes, all right, won the Scottish League. I can win the Scottish League. All right, whatever. I'm not going to judge him on that. but he almost took Liverpool to a title. Prior to Klopp, he was the person that took them closest to a title. Out of all Liverpool teams. And let me tell you something, Liverpool fans, they don't necessarily crap on Rodgers, and there's a reason for that. I mean, he's a decent manager, young manager, plays the football you lot like. So I know you lot would be happy with that. And to me, I just think he also knows the league. I've just got this feeling as well that he would love the Arsenal job. Like, he would love the Arsenal job. And I just think for that reason, I have him. I just have him for me. I'd have him. He's my ultimate choice, and that's the reason that he is number 2 in my honourable mention list. So who is my number 1 in my honourable mention list? Who do you guys think is my number 1 in my honourable mention list? 175 people watching. Thank you so much. Please do stick a like on this video. If this is the first time you've heard me ramble and you're wondering, who's this big black guy that kind of reminds you of Robbie? Hit that subscribe button. I'll reintroduce you to myself. All right, let me see who you think my honourable mention list number 1 is. Ollie Chig. Freddie from Jack. Who's my number 1 in my honourable mention list? I'll give you a clue. It has been mentioned in the chat at some point. Venner, no. No? Anyone else? Simeone? Simeone is my number 5. How could he be in my honourable mention list? Julio, number 1. Allardyce, how did you know? How did you know? Yeah, and yes, you're right. Eddie Howe wouldn't leave Leicester. That's the reason he's in my honourable mention list. Lee Gunner, Graham Potter, Lee Gunner. Very possibly. No, yep, you're right. You're right, Vlad. You're right. It is Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe's number 1 in my honourable mention list. For me, the reason he doesn't get in my top 5 is I just think it's slightly too soon. I think he's a young manager, good manager. I like the way he drills his teams. Not the best defensively. I know people are going to say that. But actually, I like the way he plays football. I like the man management he has in his team. And unfortunately, for better or worse, we do have a number of pansies in the team. So I think sometimes maybe a little cuddling and a little bit of nurturing might be what's needed. But I also think he has the ability potentially to switch it up. But I also will say that the reason he's not in my top 5 is I still think he's in a comfort zone. He knows Bournemouth. He used to be a former Bournemouth player. So he's never had the opportunity of kind of stretching his wings elsewhere. If that Everton job came available, I'd love to see someone like Eddie Howe go for it. Because I think a new challenge like that will show that he can go for a bigger club, take that extra step, and turn Everton into a bit of a force. And then maybe in a couple of years' time, if he shows that he's about this life, then I'd like to see what Eddie Howe could really do. So I wouldn't have him, but I do like a lot of his qualities. I like what he's about. So anyway, those are my honourable mentions list. Now let me get back to my number 1 choice. Who do you think my number 1 choice is to take over from Unai Emery right now, right this week? Who do you think it is? Number 1 choice. Eric Ten Hag is my number 1. It ain't. I'm not going to lie to you. As much as I hate to agree with him, kind of agree with Lee on that. Who is my number 1 choice? Yeah, I could see that, Gouda Michael. I could see that. Who do you think my number 1 choice is? Ten Hag? No, it's not. I'll tell you that now. Rafa is my number 2, so it's not my number 1. Poch, you must be joking. Okay, a couple of people have come up with the answers. Oh, I'd love to. And you wouldn't even need to pay me. I'd love to. I would love to. Troops? No, I love Troops, but no. The way he does his player ratings, that tells me enough. No. Yeah, no. Because it wouldn't be long before I say Troops out. So no. And I love Troops, but no. Ronald Koeman? No. Ancelotti? Reasonable guess, Alex. Reasonable guess. But no. No, I would not have Ancelotti, I must admit. I was a bit lukewarm on him 18 months ago when he was good. I don't think I'd have him now. Zidane, he has been mentioned. There's your clue. All right, I'll just tell you. Let me not prick tease it any longer. Let me highlight someone that said it. One sec. I just saw bare people said it. I just saw it. That's my number one. Freddie Ljungberg. Wait a minute, Chig. Why? Why would you have Freddie take over now? See, for me, the players know him. I think the players react to him. The players seem to go to him when they can't understand what Emery's saying. I've read this story on numerous occasions. The plan would not be to give Freddie the job permanently. I'm sorry. I like Freddie. I ain't trying to give him the job permanently. But I think the good thing about bringing Freddie on board is that you can change the important stuff, i.e. getting rid of Emery, getting rid of his batshit crazy assistant, getting rid of all those lot. And then putting someone like Freddie in. Maybe if you wanted to, you could get someone like Dennis in. No, Dennis doesn't fly, though. That's the problem. But you can get Dennis in. You can get someone. He's already part of the setup. And this is why I'd opt for him rather than, say, Patrick, who's at Nice. For me, Patrick has improved himself at Nice. Whereas I think with Freddie, yes, all right, he hasn't had the Premier, he hasn't had the managerial experience or anything. I'm literally getting him to do a supply teacher's job, a caretaker's job. And that is nurse this team and get the best out of this team from now to the end of the season. And I promise you, you will keep a coach's job for life if you promise him that if you want him. That for me is he works well with the youngsters. Let's face it, we're going to need these youngsters throughout the season. He can get the best out of these youngsters. You saw what he's been doing with people like Willock, with people like Saka, with people like that. Get the best out of him. To me, it just makes the most sense. He is the person you need to bring you from now to the end of the season before you can. But to me, my ideal situation would be get Freddie to come in now. You get him to do a job from now to the end of the season. Who knows? You never know. He may win something. He might get a good enough reaction where we win the Europa League. Because let's face it, our egg should be in that basket right now. Right? We win the Europa League. We go and approach Atletico Madrid, flex on them a little bit and say, what is it though? You put money on that table, see if what they're saying. If Diego don't come, you go and get Rafa, do a 2-year job, and then hopefully by the time Rafa bounces, you get Diego Simeone. That would be my ideal situation. And I think Freddie could do it. I think Freddie could get enough of a reaction out of this team where, who knows, we might be able to finish the season strong. Not necessarily for the league. I think the league is a wrap. But if we can add a cup, I mean, flip me, Wenger got these guys to the semi-finals of this competition. Unai got us to the final of this competition. If we are about this life, we could win this thing. We just need some effort, and I think Freddie could get that effort. And let's face it, if he wins the Europa League, he asks the question. And I'd love to be in that position, like the position we're in now. I'd love to be in a position of, oh, well, we've got a choice between one coach and a coach that's just won us something. I'd love to be in that position. Freddie, to me, is the logical choice, the only choice to take over from Unai Emery this season. And that is why I'd opt for our invincible, our former hero, our man with the red head, Mr. Freddie Ljungberg. You guys let me know what you think. Please leave it in the comments below. You guys have been awesome with the donations today. Thank you so much for that. Please, 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 though, before you bounce, subscribe, crush, destroy that like button for me. I appreciate when you guys do that. All right, I've done a solid 40 minutes, so I'm going to get out of here. But thank you so much. We'll be back tomorrow with the preview, so don't miss that. And then I'll be back on Thursday to do my review and player ratings with Lee. So don't miss that either. So, yeah, I'm out of it. Take care. Peace.